We have the chairman, and Domenic Tiberi is here from the High School Building Committee. If your folks are ready, do you want to come up and...
Good evening. How you doing?
Hi. So while they're setting up for the folks in the audience and at home, it's no secret that we're building a new high school. But I thought, given the status of the building and construction, which is really now starting to look like a real building, that we are about 18 months away from opening the doors to students, maybe 17 months. And I thought it would be very useful at maybe the halfway mark of putting the building up to get an overall view of where we are and where we're going. And then as more and more people are going by with so many more spring activities, going past that building, have a sense of, as they're seeing things, walls go up and other things, where it fits into the overall scheme for the project. So the gentlemen were kind enough to accept an invitation to give us that overview, as well as a budgetary overview, so that the taxpayers can understand what the work of this building committee has been, which is remarkable in the financial management of the project. So, Mr. Recupero, Mr. Tiberi, thank you for being here. Great to see you.
Good to see you also, Mr. Chairman, to the members of the board. Thank you. On behalf of the High School Building Committee, I'm TJ Recupero, here to give you an update, and I'm not going to spend too much time in introduction, but I will, of course, introduce. I think you've been introduced probably 200 times in all the presentations that you...
Sorry to interrupt you. Would you mind just turning on your mic?
Just press the little button on the front there, TJ.
Do I have to hold the button?
There you go.
No.
No, it's,
Oh.
that's why I'm a builder. I show them where the button is. And
Domenic Tiberi of Compass Project Management, who is, I think he's been in front of this board probably several dozen times, and if you haven't met Dom, I think you haven't been around Stoughton, because he's,
can't miss me.
yeah, as much as anything for the last 3 years, and probably the next 3 or 4, is more than an honorary resident of Stoughton. He's here every day, answering questions and doing...
Would you like to buy some property?
I have to talk to the boss.
And now, of course, now that you actually see something standing up, we're in the construction phase of the project, that's Dom, and that's what Dom does best. So if I can just kick it over to him and let him take over.
Thank you, TJ. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Selectmen, for having this. And let me know if I do speak softly. I'm just a big guy. People get scared when I speak loudly. So first, thank you for the opportunity. Secondly, this has been a great project. I want to say that the team that was selected, the architect, DRA, and their consultants, and the construction firm, the construction management firm, Consigli Construction, have been very good to work with. We all have our days with each other, but overall we've tried to facilitate and make sure that this project moves quickly, and we have hit all our milestones, and I'll talk about that a little bit. And in your packages, you will see a milestone schedule, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but you'll see the milestone schedule. That milestone schedule also has the academic calendar in it. So Consigli not only takes into account, and I'm sorry that I'm jumping around, but these things excite me when they're done in such a good way here, is that we took all the MCAS and any of the professional days that we could take into our schedule. We tried to adapt to the students, their needs, but also see if we could pick up a little time here and there. And in that milestone schedule, you'll see that we've incorporated the academic calendar too. That being said, I wanted to say that we are right now hitting all our milestones, and we are on time, and we will have the students in the fall of 2019 as scheduled. We have worked on some incredibly cold days and some incredibly windy days out there, and steel erectors are still erecting, and the work is still being done. So just a recap, we'll have some photographs to show you. They're in the package, but I think if the town is watching this, they'll see some things that are important as far as the progress of the project. But I wanted to just give a recap of where we stood a little bit. As you know, that part of our project budget was the feasibility stage. We completed that feasibility stage over 2 years ago within the budget line item. In fact, there's a few dollars saved there. Our administration, engineering, and architecture line item is within the budget lines and progressing through that right now. We have not spent money on utilities yet. We have all our utilities into the site. This is part of our construction contract, but the actual utility company, the only company that we're waiting on right now is Columbia. We now know that we can open up the streets. I think today is the first day. We've been in touch with Columbia. We have a plan in place to bring the gas into the job site. So we're just waiting for, I'm sure they're up to their eyeballs right now doing work from these last storms, but we're ahead with them too. We met with them in the fall, so we have a plan in place and how we're going to come into the building. Some of the things that you see behind the scenes and not physically is we have our meetings discussing the furnishings that are going to go into the new building. We've met with the administration there. Principal Miller's been involved. We've met with all the department heads. We've brought in furniture, different types of furniture as samples for the students to sit in the cafeteria, in the classrooms, teachers and how they work. And they rotate students and teachers into these classrooms and obviously the cafeteria and music rooms, things like that, to see how best those seating, different types of seating, different types of tables work. And as we go back to the education plan that the district put together, in particular Principal Miller, we're looking at the collaboration and how those pieces of furniture work in the classroom and in collaborative spaces. So that's being done right now. We have been working, and we're in the early stages of the IT AV, but we've had meetings already on that, and that's we're circling and going back and forth right now. We had a preliminary meeting with public safety in the district in regards to safety, and I know there's a forum coming out, I believe, this Monday. It is preliminary. We did meet with fire, police, et cetera, and the district as far as how that works, and anything that will be coming from that forum, we can queue up also following up. Right now, we're actually in the beginning of that because we're looking at different hardwares, different security systems, different technology that could be placed into the high school. So these are the things that are behind the scene that you don't see physically out there right now. I'm just seeing if there's anything else that I missed.
The safety down is going to appear on the next agenda for the high school building.
Right, yeah, and what else, like I said, with this forum coming up, there'll be more to talk about. We do have a couple of things queued up. I've asked the architect to queue up a couple of items to see, just in case they do come up in the forum, that we'll be ready to respond quickly, because as the chair has said, we're 18 months away, and some of these things are longer lead items that we want to get in. We don't want to replace things that are already been bought or installed, so we want to make sure that we're ready for that. So this is the right time to make those decisions. In regards to the first slide you see there, and I apologize, I don't know if we can make this a little bit bigger for you all. Emily, I might need your help with this one. Is it? I can't see the corner, I'm sorry. My eyes are gone. If you could just a hair bigger. Oh, there it is, thank you, I'm sorry. Yeah, we can just slide it over a little. So thank you, Emily. So a recap of, this is where the big chunk of the money is, obviously, is our construction costs. So I just wanted to recap that our original, and tell me if you can hear me, I'm sorry, I move around a little bit. Our original budget for the construction of the high school was $99,961,191. The GMP, which is the guaranteed maximum price that consigliere came back to us, this does not include the CPC allocation that we had. They came back at 92. This is a competitively bid. aggressively bid, which is a surprise to us because Boston and Cambridge are so busy right now that we were a little concerned. So I think our estimators originally, they were higher than the 99 million that we had projected. We kind of pushed them down a little bit. But we're fortunate that we had a very good follow-up with our sub-file bidders, and we did come, and a majority were within the area. They weren't like, we had predicted that there would be some companies coming in from Rhode Island looking at this project, but the majority of the project is local to us from our contractors. We have gone up a bit because of change orders, because we have been going since June, and most of the change orders are really clarifications. There's nothing really that, maybe one item that's an owner-related change, but most of it was clarification changes and on architectural details. You know, you're talking about a building that has multiple parts to it, and these things do come up, and we do predict it because we do have that our construction contingency line, which I'll show you shortly. So we take from that, so we're at 93,189,216. This does not include the district office, which we received bids today, and I will say we still have to shake out, but we are below the number we had projected. We still have to shake that out. So once we figure that out, we'll have a bid savings from the construction, a bid savings between $4.5 million. So this is beyond our construction contingency, which, as you can see just below here, is 3,637,570, so $3,637,000 plus, on top of what we have for some bid savings. As I've always said, you know, people say to me, are you under budget and all that? I say we're on budget because we have a lot of work to do, and we don't know what comes about when we start taking down that older building. As much as we've done, as far as we've surveyed, you never know until it comes down. There are always surprises, and I've been around long enough to know that you don't wishfully think ahead of time until you get to that point. So, but we're in very good shape financially right now. I will say that the construction contingency is $1,973,000, and we're doing very well with that. So we've only spent $42,000 the construction contingency. So we have money in there. We're pretty safe, and I would say that we are on budget right now. The only other thing I wanted to bring up is that we had an appropriation by the CPC. We appropriated $1,250,000. And we have hard numbers right now of $1 million, which includes the architect's fees too, not just the construction fees. So it's $1,005,813. So all in all, we're doing very well on a project like this. And the many projects that I've done this size, I've really never seen this kind of savings on it. I've seen good savings, but this has been outstanding. And I have to say that I give credit to Consigli Construction on this. They did go out and beat the bushes as far as getting some file sub-bidders to competitively and hard bid this project. And the numbers have come in good, and we have good subs. I mean, like most construction projects, you have your disagreements here and there, but everybody's pulling in the same direction. So,
Hey, Tom, can I
Yes,
make
sir.
a couple of quick qualifications?
Yes.
When we say that the original budget was $99,961,000.
That's the construction budget, yep.
That's right. That's just to build the building.
Right, that's
Not
just
the
the building.
athletic fields or the district offices or the furnishing fixtures or et cetera, right?
I'm sorry,
Project is
not the district office, but you said
$125 million, correct?
right. The total construction budget, the total project budget is still 123, and then you add the CPC number, it's like 125 million. So
Correct. So I don't want folks to think that the budget.
no, this is strictly construction.
Correct,
Which is
okay.
a big chunk of it.
Now, you've got several contingencies up there. Can you clarify those for folks, what that means?
Sure. Okay. In the $123 million original budget, we had carried a construction contingency for change orders that would come out, and that's the $3,037,570. That was, and we have, like I said, we have added about $250,000, I believe, in construction change orders right now.
Right.
The owner contingency, which we really haven't touched, is anything that owner, that's beyond the scope of construction that owners may want. It's I wish I can give you a really good example, but I can't right now.
Well,
But
possibly safety, right?
it's yeah, exactly. If this security forum comes about on Monday, that it's something that the owner would like to upgrade, it's only fair that it comes basically through that line item. That's a good example of it. And I'm sorry, you're right, it is confusing. We do have a lot of, this construction contingency is actually the construction contingency that the contractor carries. Sometimes, if you, and we've been pretty good about this, but sometimes the electrician might carry something that might be also be carried by someone else. Well, he thinks one has it, and the other one thinks the other one has it. And part of the construction management is that he's got to make sure that they carry it, who carries it appropriately, but it could be missed. So that comes from that 1.9 million, and we've been fortunate that the drawings have been pretty tight. There have been a couple things, but it's been taken care of. And there are certain times when they'll put in a change order that that will argue the point that you should have carried that. You should have known better. You were hired as the construction manager. It's your job to coordinate your subcontractors and yourself, and that's where it comes from. So we get these, what we call contingency transfers, which are zero change order. And
So within their 93 million, is it the 93,189,000?
yes.
They have built in a contingency of the 1,973,136.
That's
Okay.
That's correct.
And just to clarify for folks, GMP is guaranteed maximum pricing.
Guaranteed maximum price, which
We're just so used to all the,
I've never really liked the
Acronyms.
terminology, but it does kind of lock you in
Yeah.
to the pricing as they've gotten it, so.
Well, the
But
comforting thing
there
here
are
is that
change
there-
orders that come about, so
the comforting thing is there are layers of contingency.
there's layers, yes.
So,
that's
yeah, we're on budget, comfortably on budget.
comfortably on budget, yes. Yeah. And again, I just wanted to bring up the CPC because that was a different appropriation. But interestingly enough, we deal with the MSBA. The MSBA has been at our projects on a monthly basis. They're very happy with the progress of the project. They had asked that they would like this, because it's on the same site, they just wanted to keep track of it. It's not a reimbursable because it comes from the CPC, but it is part of the whole package, so we show it. So. And I'm going to kind of skip through this a little bit just to say that it's very interesting to see the milestones that they do. Consigli does a very good job about that. Like I said, currently we have met the milestones, and as some of you have seen, if you've driven by the corner of Adams and Pearl Street, you've seen the erection of steel going on. I just want to get to the. If you remember, this was the rendering, and if we start to look at the steel, this is, we have the buildings numbered, I'm sorry, they're lettered, B, C, and then the gymnasium and the auditorium are A1, A2. So this is, B building is, sorry, I'm losing the arrow, I'm sorry. Is right here. This is B building, which is right next to the high school. We started off, and you'll see a photograph of, this is where we started. We're right now completing the steel erection in that area. We are putting the deck down, the steel deck. You'll see it up there. It's kind of like a waffle, and that's what we'll pour our concrete slabs on top of. We're in the middle right now of asking our testing and inspection agency to go around to check the bolt connections, any welding connections, and we'll verify that. So we're in the midst of tightening up the building. And then we'll move over to the C building right here, which is closest to the middle school and the West Elementary fields here. So, and we're working our way, and you can see the crane down here. And we're working our way towards what will be the auditorium in the future, and then eventually the gymnasium to make that circle. So in the next few months, we have, as I said, in March, we're doing mostly steel erection and deck installation. We're completing some of there's a little bit of foundation work that has to be completed. We leave that open so we can get the crane in and out and some of our material in and out. We've done a very good job as far as scheduling the steel deliveries and how they're being dropped off, and also in unison with the school as far as and teachers parking and dropping off their students. They know the moratorium. Sometimes, we have them in early. They queue up on 138 in one of the parking lots and then come in after 8 o'clock when the kids come in. So that's worked out pretty well.
And Dom, you're not having, I'm sorry, I'm going to be asking questions
yeah,
on
I
behalf
don't
of the
mind.
folks at home.
I'd rather
because
have asked
I can
questions.
hear the questions being asked.
Yeah.
You're not having any problems with supply of anything at this
No.
point? So, for example, your Canadian steel is not an issue? There's no issue with tariffs or things of that nature?
No. We've already purchased the steel. It's coming in from Canada. I have to say there was one day that we weren't expecting to show up because the weather was so bad, and the Canadian drivers, they can drive through anything.
Well, I thought we probably had a few electric crews down from Canada.
So,
That's a couple
but March and April will be mostly steel erection and decking. We will probably be starting to pour the decks by the end of April, beginning of May. We'll start the B building and we'll be doing top down. There's a whole procedure of that. It's not just concrete. We have a leveling product that goes on top of the concrete, which will help us minimize the time as far as. And I'll have to say this: there's putting a concrete slab in is a lot of work because of the timing it takes to cure the concrete. So it takes a while. We're making every effort to accelerate that concrete curing time and also putting in a product that will adhere so that the moisture level from that concrete will not disrupt the floor laying that will eventually go on, because you have to make sure that you have, a certain dryness to the concrete before you do that. So there's a lot of things that are being done behind the scenes you don't see, but, that we're working to maximize not only the effort of getting the schedule complete, but actually making sure that when the product goes down, it goes down properly. So that being said, we're finalizing, as I said in the beginning, in June, we took over the Adams Street parking lot to bring utilities onto the site. Once we get the decking done, we will now take those utility lines and bring them into the building. And that'll be probably the beginning of May. We'll be doing that work. In the meantime, as we're finishing up B building, and the slabs are completed and we're heading to C, you'll start to see the exterior stud work going around the building to get ready for the masons to come in. And we'll probably have a roofer starting to work on certain things too. So it'll be aggressive. I've always said that once you see the steel up there, people are saying, oh, it's going, and then suddenly we kind of close the building in and everybody's saying, what the hell is going on out there? I can't see anything anymore, but that's where we're at. By June, we'll be constructing that exterior wall. So you'll start to see that. The same method. We'll start with B building, go C, turn the corner, and do the 2 A buildings in the front. And I'm just checking. July, like I said, the facade will be the major thing you'll see in the summer. And that's a great time to do this kind of masonry. We'll be putting in also the openings for the future fenestration there, the windows and the curtain walls. So, and in the meantime too, we're also doing a mock-up. So you're going to see a mock-up on the corner of Adams and, I can't think of the name, Cushing, or towards Cushing, right in that corner there. And it'll have all the the components of the future building. So it'll be like a mini building there. But while we're doing that, we're actually testing the system. We're testing how the water and wind will penetrate that window unit and the flashing and the masonry and the wall behind it. So we'll be doing those tests sometime in April. So we'll be creating the building in a miniature, just a facade and a corner turn. That way, if there is an issue, we can address that issue before we're on the main building. So we're working with that. We have a commissioning agent for exterior envelope that is assigned by the MSBA. We've had a few meetings already, and so you'll be seeing that. And from that, we'll minimize any issues in the future. So the building has specifications that deal with hurricane-level winds for the roof, for the exterior, for the windows. So we're working on that. And by August, the believe it or not, we'll be still, while we're closing in the outside, once the building is closed in and away from, the weather, we'll be putting up stud walls and starting to put up board and starting to tape. So, because within a year, we'll have to have students in there. So we're working quickly inside the building. Any questions? I'm sorry. I know I'm rambling, but I'd be happy to. Sometimes I like the questions better than making the presentations.
The mock-up, you said that's going to be this April or next April?
No, this April, yeah.
Good.
Because by next April, and I can,
Next
Shown on
month.
the plan. It's
yeah.
on the-
Well, yeah, let's see if I
well,
can,
the location is.
yeah.
So it's like a scale model of the project.
It's really just the facade and the window and a little bit of the roof.
Yep.
It just gives you, and how the corner of the building turns. So it's not,
The exposure to anything that's
It's-
exposed to
it's-
elements.
it wouldn't be a house. It won't be my future office. I can just tell you that. I'm sorry.
Could it be the district offices?
It's right,
Yeah, at the end of Pennsylvania Avenue.
it's right, Clapp Street, right here at Clapp. Yeah, there it is. See, it says a pre-planned mock-up construction. You see this little line here.
Yep.
So it'll be right there in that corner. So if somebody calls and says that they're building the building too close to my property, it is not the building, and we've had that issue before. That being said, that's the location here. As some of you know, where you see 2 and 3, those are the trailers for Consigli and Compass. Consigli has a very good staff on hand. Compass is actually, I'm there every day, most days I'll say, but pretty much now I'm there every day. I have a site manager and an assistant with me to work on the project. A lot of firms have their PMs come in and out. We've always believed that you want to be on site to see what's going on and not from an office. So that's how we work. Not a marketing ploy, it's just the way we work. So,
Which is one of the reasons you were hired.
so this is just a picture of the first piece of steel that was erected middle of January.
We didn't sign it. We didn't sign it.
No, you sign. We'll have a beam. The last piece goes up. It will be painted and there'll be signatures. And we've already started talking to the school about having the students sign and administration, et cetera.
Would you have to put a Christmas tree up somewhere, or?
The Christmas tree goes up when the last beam goes up, yeah. So, I have to give credit to the incredible labor staff there. I mean, not just the erectors, but the laborers and the carpenters have been working through tough winter conditions. And we work through tough winter conditions every year, so. But you're pretty weary at the end of the day working here, so.
Yeah, the teams have just been phenomenal.
So this was January 24th, first piece of steel. As you can see, this is coming from the middle school and the West Elementary playing fields. So you can see all the foundation work that's down in through here and out through here towards Adams was being done, continuously and concurrent. You can see all the steel rebar here. That's for the foundation work. We continued. Now, this was about, I believe it was 2 weeks ago.
March 1st.
March 1st. So you can see that's B building here, and this is C. So we continued right across. When the steel is not, and we have to sometimes, what we'll do is with the erectors, we get the steel up and we kind of lock it into place, but not completely. And what we do is once that steel's there, we're waiting for the next order of steel to come in from Canada. We go back to the other building and then make sure everything tightens up and is plumb. So there's a rhythm to the erectors as they work there. So that's just a kind of a view. You can see here what I was talking about, the deck. And that's what we'll be pouring our concrete on. Here's a drone view and you can see the decking now going over, but this was also about 2 weeks ago. And this kind of gives you, you can see the auditorium, basically. There it is, where the seating is going to be, heading right into here. And I'm terrible with this arrow, I apologize. But back here is chorus and band rooms, et cetera. The back of the stage right there, and then you can see that that's the auditorium. And here's your gymnasium, the future gymnasium. This area here is your main entrance coming into the building and the back entrance. So you have sort of a grand concourse there. And where the, approximately where the crane is will be your cafeteria area in the future. So it's a little bit more recent, I believe. But as you can see, C building is starting to come together. And I will say, as of today, C building looks very much like B building as far as the erection. So they're out here by the crane. The crane has moved. So that little jut out here of B is here too now. So they're moving the crane around a little bit, and we're heading towards A1. Now, just a little bit of discussion, and I now will need to reduce, so I will. And thankfully, you have these slides in. Teachers' workrooms, okay, so really I want to emphasize this is a collaborative space and you can see these walls right here all the way around. These are your classrooms. So there are going to be times when your teachers and your students may have a couple of classes concurrent, whether it's the humanities, that they can come out into this space here and do collaborative study work. So even though this is an open corridor area, you can have it utilized as a collaborative space during the classroom periods. And we have built-in marker boards, obviously the Wi-Fi is set up in there. But the whole idea of the new education program is that everybody works in business and whatever, even in construction, we have to be collaborative, so we work together in a room, and this teaches us, the future of the 21st century education. So we've built in collaborative spaces on every floor going forward. So the architect has shown a rendering of this here, and I just wanted to bring it back up again. Obviously, the gymnasium, very similar. If you've been to some of the more recently built schools, it'll be very similar. I believe we carry enough seating for over 1,000 for whether it's a game or if it's a school assembly, we can handle it. So, obviously, the Stoughton colors are prevalent. There'll be also, you can see that during like gym classes, you can split right down the middle and you can have a full court going both ways. This is your master court here. You'll have volleyball in here. There's, stanchions. We have netting for indoor batting cage, floor protection. So a lot of things have been thought about. You can, you can move your basketball nets up towards the ceiling. There's much to do here. That we've even actually thought about, where do you have the camera, for your local media access. The location has been picked out, so it's the retractable. We can add some seating if we have to. It's all there. This is your main corridor we were talking about, the Grand Concourse. You can see here is a sort of a reception desk here. Right here is administration. This grand stair comes up. You can enter the auditorium through here or to the gymnasium. Gymnasium is in the front, the auditorium in the back. Same thing down here. You can enter down here on both sides. This is the rear. Same thing, you go up and around of the building. This gives you a feel of, and I know it's hard to see, but if you look at the cafeteria area, which is, I'm sorry, this is not the cafeteria, but this is actually your second floor area. This is your media center, what when I was going to high school we called the library. It's now a media center. a lot less volumes of book, more, high-tech, using your Kindle, your tablet, and getting access. I know a previous project that I did, they had 30,000 volumes of books in their library. They culled it down to 12,000 books. There are some schools right now that don't have any books anymore. You can call it up on your Kindle if you need to, or your laptop or your tablet. So I think that's the end of my presentation right now. I agree with the chairman that if there is something downstairs on the first floor, I'd be more than happy to put things. There's a lot that's going on there, and we can update it. I'm sure I can work with Emily and Mark to get those updates to you on a timely fashion. So, any questions?
No, I have no questions.
I don't have any questions, but if you could just explain the MSBA reimbursement and how, if this GMP will impact that, and just provide the audience at home with a little information on that portion of the project.
Boy, I have to say, I'm the construction guy, and Tim, my boss, he understands the MSB really well. I will tell you that we have been putting in reimbursement rates. We've submitted about $22 million in requests for reimbursements. We've, I believe, received $12 million back, and some are still under review. How it works is what they consider what is eligible and ineligible. I always tell people what they really concentrate on is the education of the building, and they put caps on the things like the site, the outside of the site. Whatever really is affiliated with the classroom is the most important thing about their reimbursement, and that's how they look at it. Even if we put a change order, and there are caps on change orders, because a cap on the change order is like $1 million. So even when we do something, as an example, and I'll give you the large example, like the photovoltaic as an example. They'll look at that, and how does that relate to education? So we have to be careful on how we designate certain things, and also how if it's architectural design, that could be a reimbursement cost because it's part of that building. So if there's a change that is reimbursable, it's probably a design issue, and that we'll have to look at that. That being said, I mean, the shares that we talked about is, what the community share is and what the MSBA share is. Your community share doesn't fluctuate much at all, but the MSBA share might go slightly higher, might go slightly lower. It depends. They're very picky, and we will meet with them. Actually, we're meeting with them on April 4th to review the change orders to see what is more reimbursable in their thoughts, and we sit down and push back on our end, and that's where Tim comes in because he's done a number of these jobs. So I know that's not the greatest explanation, Christine, but I can deliver a better one when with Tim's help, we could come back here and really explain it. But I think we are being treated fairly by the MSBA, and they've been very helpful coming out here. Someone said that we're one of the better projects that they've had right now because it's just that our paperwork has been very good as far as our follow-up with them. But you have to. They've changed the rules a little bit, so they do still hold 5% at the end, and then they do the audit, and then we'll come back, and usually what happens is it kind of goes the 55%, 45% split. Excuse me, and then everybody, like I said, everything comes together at the end pretty much. Every project that I've done, as long as the paperwork is right and consistent, they've been very good to work with there. It is slow. The process is slow. Because it used to be they would do it quarterly. Now they're holding everything till the very end. So, which means we have to be very diligent every quarter to make sure that we know where we stand. Before we knew where we stood every 4 months, every 3 months. So I wish I could have given you a much better answer.
No, I think that was very thorough. Thank you, Tom. And my only other question or comment was if you've received any feedback from abutters and residents that live
Yes,
around the construction site?
In the beginning, there were a couple of, we're new in the neighborhood. We did reach out to, we had a community forum. We had several community forums. We did have a couple of the neighbors reached out to me, and I met them at their home. It was very nice. They offered their place a couple of times. And we discussed, their concerns, and they had some requests on their part that would make their lives a little easier. And I have to say, Consigli has been very helpful as far as trying to be a good neighbor. It's hard, and we've come to some agreements as far as, I have sort of an email blast to the neighbors that I send out if we're going to be working late because there might have been an issue. We're trying to complete one of the processes that we're doing out there, an activity that we can't really leave at 4 o'clock. We need to get done by 7. So I send out the blast, and everybody, because everybody responds. We said we were going to be there from like 7 to 6, but in case of this situation, I will let people know, and they understand. Right now, our iron workers are working from 7 o'clock in the morning to about 5 every day, to maximize their schedule, because we lost a day here, a day there, and so that's why we're still on schedule. We had a couple of issues because of the snow removal. People have to understand that, and actually, in general, after the first snow removal, we sent out a Facebook page and we put on the town website the criteria of what we do for snow removal, excuse me. And we talked to all the departments in the town of Stoughton, too, just to let them know, public safety, building department, et cetera, because we wanted to make sure that we weren't violating any ordinances that were part of the town of Stoughton. We have and I have to explain it a little bit first, we don't just plow, we have to remove snow, because plowing only pushes the snow back into the workplace. We literally have to take the snow and move it off the site. So what we do is we bring in our heavy equipment operator in at 5 in the morning. He gets there, parks, turns the machine on, takes the snow off, warms up the vehicle, and then they start to move. So in the beginning, we did have some complaints about starting at 5, and then we would have our laborers come in at 6 o'clock to do handwork, shovel work. After a conversation and talking about this is a safety issue, so that when the men come on at 7 o'clock, they can get around, and a majority of the people understood it. They went through Facebook, explained the whole thing. I actually had posted it earlier, but the first time through, people were upset. Talked to some individuals, and there was buy-in from some individuals. A few individuals are still unhappy with me, but it is part of the process, and I have a schedule to complete for the community, and we're trying to, not to minimize the disruption, and we've tried very hard, but it does make some noise, obviously. But all in all, good relationships with the abutters. I can't, it's like they say, 99%, there's always 1% that I'm going to have to deal, and I try to deal with. And I will say that I actually have reached out to one of the groups out there, asked them, I told them I think it's a good time for us to talk about the next 4 or 5 months and what to expect. I'm meeting with them early April, and everybody, it's kind of an open house, and everybody's been invited in that neighborhood. So we try to be transparent and try to be open, and I think the more that you get people involved in the process so they understand the activities, the better the results are later on. Because, a lot of misinformation sometimes gets out there because they don't know all the facts. So I try to give them all the facts, and I tried not to sugarcoat it, because I told them, at the last one, I said, you're not probably going to like what I say, but I don't want to say something that's not right, but at least you're aware of it, and it's been good that way. If we're using a generator to keep the foundation walls warm overnight because the temperature is going to drop below 32 degrees, they know a generator is on. You know, you're going to hear a buzz. When we're doing the concrete pour, I brought it up earlier, it might not be completely cured at 5 o'clock. It might be cured at 8 o'clock at night. So there are going to be people on the site. So it's just, you know, it's part of the process of building a building this size. So.
Yeah, okay.
That was actually a good question. I think we have a piece of correspondence from somebody that we need to.
I said that was actually a good question, Christine, because I think we just recently received some correspondence on somebody that had a concern.
Yeah, I responded to one person. It's the same. I believe it's the same person. I'm not quite sure, but the same complaint that was earlier. And I did respond to that person.
Well, thank you for being sensitive to the local community, for sure. That's important to the project's success.
I just want to say too that not just Consigli and DRA are architects, but the school administration's been great to work with too. Very active. They have their head in the game, which is good. I mean, when we need a decision made, they're making those decisions. And you know, when they require the guidance, they really ask us for it. It's not like they're because we talk a different language sometimes, you know. So if they don't quite understand what we're talking about, we can lead them down that path a little bit better. So.
Well, it's been very informative, 45 minutes. Is there anything we can do? I don't know what it would be.
We'll let you know.
Yeah.
But I think we're, like I said, we're all pulling in the same direction. Not to use, you know, I know it's an old cliche, but I think we're doing pretty well on this project. But thank you very much for your
Thank you.
support.
Thank you. There's a long way around about saying you're on schedule and on budget.